guys, it's Miss Bulla. I'm just going to do a quick video over the respiratory system. If you've been following any of the news with COVID-19, you've probably heard a lot about the respiratory system and how it is a respiratory illness. So hopefully if you've been a little bit confused by some of the terms experts have been using, this will clarify some of that so you can better explain to your friends, your family, your siblings, what is actually going on in the world and what they mean when they say certain things. All right, so the respiratory system consists of your lungs, your air passages, and basically what it does is it brings oxygen into the body, it removes that carbon dioxide from the body, it helps regulate body temperature, and then it also produces audio sound. So when I'm talking right now, if I put my hand in front of my mouth, I can feel the air being pushed out when I say certain words. So you wouldn't be able to communicate or make these sounds if you didn't have the respiratory system. So it's something that, you may not think about breathing all the time, but you're definitely talking a lot. So it's just knowing, that it's affecting a lot of things within your body. All right, so the respiratory system processes. We have three main processes. We have ventilation, respiration, and oxygenation. So bear with me a little bit. We're going to go into depth within these processes. And within the processes, there are other stages. So you may want to pause, take a break, read, listen, just so you really can get all of the information. All right, so ventilation is the physical act of breathing. Within ventilation, there are two phases. One is inhalation and one is exhalation. So inhalation is the process of breathing in air. It can also be called inspiration. When the intercostal muscles contract, what they basically do is they're lifting and separating the ribs. At that very same time, the diaphragm is contracting and moving downward. So basically, these are enlarging that thoracic cavity to allow the lungs to expand and create a type of suction. Air with fresh oxygen is pulled in through the air passages to the lungs. So that is inhalation. That's what your body's doing, your muscles are doing to make it so that your body can receive that oxygen. So exhalation is when you're breathing out. The intercostal muscles and the diaphragm at that point are totally relaxing. And by relaxing, air is forced out of the lungs and air passages to remove that carbon dioxide from the body. So ventilation is inhalation and exhalation, right? That process is involuntary. You're doing it without thinking, just like your heart is beating without you thinking about it. But you can control the rate of your breathing. So if you want to meditate and take a deep breath in, a deep breath out, you may be breathing much slower, or whenever you go on a run, you can see that you're breathing a lot faster. But even if you're not running, you can start breathing in, breathing out really quickly because you have that control over your ventilation. All right, the next segment is respiration. It is the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide in your body. So this process is essential for you to live. Without respiration, you will die. The two stages of respiration are external and internal. So external respiration is basically just the transfer of gases from the environment to the lungs. So it's getting this air from the environment and bringing it to the lungs. That is external. The internal respiration is mainly referred to as physical respiration because it's the transfer of oxygen and carbon dioxide from the lungs to the tissue cells of the body. So external is, getting that oxygen and carbon dioxide from the environment to your lungs. Internal is what your body inside is doing with the oxygen and the carbon dioxide. All right, the next step to the breathing process would be oxygenation. So oxygenation is the process by which the oxygen molecules are loaded onto the hemoglobin in the bloodstream. So remember that hemoglobin is the protein that's responsible for carrying oxygen in the bloodstream. So basically, what oxygenation is doing is getting all of these oxygen molecules and attaching them to the hemoglobin molecules so that all the different parts in your body, your finger, your toe, your nose, your head, whatever it is getting the oxygen that it needs to survive. All right, ambient air is the air that's in the atmosphere. It's made up of about 21% oxygen. Bear with me, this gets a little bit confusing, guys. So basically, this air is what is inhaled during ventilation. During oxygenation, about 5% of the oxygen is removed from that air. Then respiration causes this oxygen to replace the carbon dioxide that's in the blood. Finally, the remaining 16-ish% of oxygen gas plus carbon dioxide and water vapors are exhaled. Ventilation, oxygenation, and respiration work together to create a successful breathing cycle. So there's not a whole lot percentage of oxygen that your body is actually keeping and utilizing. All right, the anatomy of the respiratory system. Lungs are the primary organ used for breathing. We have the upper airway, which is just as you would imagine. It's in the upper part of your body. So it's going to extend from the mouth and the nose down to the bottom of the larynx, or what we know as the voice box. The lower airway extends from the trachea to the alveoli in the lungs. All right, the nose and the mouth. Air enters and exits the respiratory through the nose or the mouth, depending if you're a nose breather, you're a mouth breather, whatever. When breathing through the nose, air is entering through the nostrils and into the nasal cavity. This nasal cavity is lined with mucous membrane and tiny hairs called cilia. They help to moisten the air and filter dust and germs out of it. So all of those little bitty tiny hairs are helping protect you from viruses, from dirt, from things that your body doesn't need. For added moisture, tears are drained from the eye into the nose through nasolacrimal ducts. Air can also enter the body through the mouth and into the oral cavity. In this case, the tonsils at the back of the throat help to resist infection. So do you guys see how regardless of where air is entering, through your nose or through your mouth, your body has natural ways to try and fight illnesses and diseases and things like that. All right, the sinuses are hollow spaces in the skull, and they connect to the nasal cavity. So if you've ever had a sinus infection, you can look on this image and see where they are. You feel really tight right about your nose, your temples. Your nose is probably pretty stopped up. You just feel overall terrible. So besides moistening and filtering the air, sinuses help to regulate the temperature of the air before it reaches the sensitive lungs. So this is really important. The air can't be too hot or too cold, or it can harm your lungs. So the sinuses help regulate that temperature to make sure that it's safe. Sinuses also can give air a place to vibrate as it exits to augment the sound of the voice, which is called resonance. All right, the pharynx and epiglottis. So the pharynx, or the throat, is located behind the nasal cavity. It's divided into 3 sections. So we have our nasopharynx, which is at the top and contains the